Hey everyone, welcome back to 996 The Howl. I guess the only good news lately is that a new jersey is coming, highly rumored. I remember talking about it last summer in July about a new maroon jersey with some sort of word mark, and it's finally going to be revealed soon. They're showing off the pants yesterday in practice with a cactus on the pants. I'm not sure what the word mark is going to be. There's leaks showing it just says Arizona in cursive writing, and now there's a new leak saying it says Arizona Coyotes in sort of cursive, but the T in Coyotes is a cactus, and it sort of matches up with the letter S. I prefer just one word Arizona, but we'll see what it is. Exciting! It's a New Jersey. Everyone loves Coyote jerseys. Going with the word mark, pretty bold. Arizona's never done that, so that's going to be new territory for the team and the brand. Hopefully it goes well. Hopefully it looks good, and maybe they get a win with it. So Coyotes finished this 10-game stretch with 6 straight regulation losses. We're not at rock bottom left. They can go lower, especially with the trade deadline looming. Trading away a couple good guys. We could get much worse, but they are at the worst point of their season, and we are at the halfway mark of the new season. They went 3-7-0 in the last 10 games. The record is now 13-22-5, 29th in the league. Anaheim's creeping up behind them. San Jose surpassed them with the win last night. So, the tanking gap is shortening. Still about 7 points from last place. Chicago, I hope they somehow figure it out and get some points on the board. But yeah, it's pretty much all hands on deck for the tank now. Before the 6-game losing streak, they had a 3-game winning streak to start the 10-game stretch. Everyone was feeling good. Can this team do it? Can this team, be a mediocre team, which would have been such an exaggeration in the offseason if someone told you that. This team was planned to finish in the bottom of the league. Some analysts reported saying this was the worst roster they've ever seen. It's good to prove them wrong, but now we're getting to a point where, we're only 3 wins above last season from the 40-game mark. So that should set it right where, this team isn't miles ahead of last season. Sure, more competitive games, much better, more energy, younger than last season. They are better, but only 3 games in the win column better. And last season, they started the season with no wins in their first 12 games. So it's starting to level out. Like I said, with the trades coming, with injuries looming, injuries are going to come. We just saw an injury with Michelli in these past 10 games. So injuries could come. We escaped an injury last night with Chikrin getting a slap shot blast to his kneecap. Only missed, a couple of shifts and then came back good as new. Took a shot right in his first shift. So thankfully he avoided injury. He replaced both of his knees. So seeing that slap shot to the knee it looked really horrific. And I thought for sure this guy was going to be injured. But thankfully he wasn't. We need to protect him, our highest valuable trade asset, supposedly. So, hopefully he is healthy and continues his dominance. We'll get to that soon. So let's get into it. Pretty much every metric is down. Goals for per game. We were so close to approaching 3 goals per game, but we dropped back to 2.73. We were shut out for the first time last Friday against Chicago. Only scored 2 goals against Philadelphia, 2 goals against San Jose, 1 goal against Pittsburgh. So the goal scoring isn't as prominent as it used to be. Not even used to be. At the beginning of the 10-game stretch, they scored back-to-back games with 6 goals against the Leafs and the Avalanche. Albeit, 2 of those goals against the Leafs were empty netters. But still, to see the 6-goal stat, it's good to see. They got to get over that 3-goal hump consistently, and they haven't been doing it consistently. So hopefully that, their goal scoring gets back up there. Goals against per game, it's relatively the same. 3.68 goals against per game, pretty high. 28th in the league for both of those goals for and goals against stats per game. Power play, pretty much even. 23rd in the league. It's never going to get back to where it was at the beginning of the season, where it's top 10 in the league. I do not like power play unit number 2. Power play unit number 1 is loaded. You got Keller, Schmaltz, Chikrin, and Goss to spare. And then, Hayden is there right now. So the second unit, there's just not a playmaker there. You have Gunther, Ritchie, Kraus, Boyd, and either Moser or Valimaki. I just don't see what player is supposed to grab the puck, make the right play, make a slick pass. It just seems like a bunch of guys. Gunther is a shooter, obviously, so there has to be someone else on that power play unit to make the good play and make the good pass to Gunther. I saw a couple times they tried to attempt Gunther's one-timer. I think one of them was blocked, but they're getting it going. They know that they should cultivate his skill of his one-timing ability. So it's happening. It's slowly happening. They just got to get a right mix of chemistry. I would say put Hayden on power play unit number 2. He is skilled. He can make good plays, just not consistently. But I feel with power play unit number 1, it's already too loaded. You could put Ritchie, Boyd, or Bukestad there instead of Hayden. I mean, Hayden's job in that power play is to just go to the front of the net. I'm sure you could do someone else there and then use that skill of Hayden to set up Dylan Gunther. And Hayden used to be the guy taking those one-timers in his World Junior tournament. So I'm sure he has some knowledge on how to set up a one-timer since he was the guy taking the one-timers in his junior tournament. So there's something there. Maybe mix it up a bit. I know this team is hurting without Michelli. I never knew I'd say this, but this team is desperately missing Michelli. Just that secondary playmaker is just absent without Michelli. It's just pretty much Keller and Schmaltz doing all the playmaking, making these skillful plays, these high skill plays to create and generate consistent scoring chances. I just don't see Kraus and Bukestad and Gunther making those plays. Sure, Bukestad scores. He's got 10 goals on the season. Kraus leading the team in goals, tied with Keller. But actually making plays, making the good play. Michelli is so good at that. He's like a mini Keller. And this team's missing that secondary playmaker on this team. And no one's really filling the void. It's hard to replace. There's no one on Tucson who could replace Michelli with that playmaking ability. So they're missing him. And it's affecting a lot of areas like the power play and the goals for per game. Penalty killing, way down, 73.9, almost down 4% from their 30-game mark. Save percentage, pretty much the same at 893, still 22nd in the league. I wanted that save percentage to go up to 900. And I believe in the 30-game video I confidently said it will go up to 900. And it was for the first 3 games, and then, six games losing in a row is going to do that to your save percentage. Vejmelka, he's not looking good lately. Pretty disappointed in his play. To me, he doesn't look confident. He's second-guessing himself. He's moving around too much. He's not the goaltender we saw in the first 30 games of the season. It is a recent stretch. Probably just a mental thing. He's got to work through it like every goaltender does. But I don't know why the coaching staff isn't giving Ingram more starts. If they see that Vejmelka is playing poorly, he's second-guessing himself, his confidence isn't there. Maybe they were hoping against San Jose, it's an easy-ish game. It's an opponent who's at the bottom of the standings with the Coyotes. This could be a bounce-back game for Vejmelka. Instead of thinking, Vejmelka needs some rest, put him on the bench, make him look at the game a bit differently, put in Ingram. Ingram's had his past 3 starts have been great against Buffalo, Chicago, and the Avalanche. Stellar performances, all 3 of those games above 900. So he should be playing more. He's only played 3 games since the end of the 14-game road trip where he capped it off with that 8-2 loss to Edmonton. That's really hurt his numbers. Like in that Edmonton game, he had a .77 save percentage in that game. Just bringing down his numbers. He doesn't play enough where, 3 straight games of good goaltending is going to improve his statistics. So you got to put him in net a bit more. I hope he plays against Ottawa, another team sort of struggling, desperate to get back in the playoff race. So that would be a big test for Ingram. I just want to see Vejmelka get some rest and get back to form that we all know. His standards, we know of Vejmelka. He needs to get back up to those standards. Moving to shot percentage, it's down, surprisingly. Usually the Coyotes are pretty high, top 7 in the league in shooting percentage. It's been a bit down. They're down to 10th in the league in shooting percentage. Shots on goal, still last place by a mile. 31st in the league is Chicago, and they have about 26.5 shots per game on net. Coyotes just over 25 shots per game. It's a consistent story. The Coyotes do not shoot a lot. They don't generate a lot of shooting opportunities to shoot it on net. Last night they kept hyping that, the Coyotes shot attempts are so high. But they need to be consistent and getting a lot of shots on goaltenders. Make goaltenders work for their wins. Test goaltenders. There's some goalies where the goalie isn't confident that night and they could catch him off guard, but they don't get a lot of shots on net to prove that and to make the goalie, get flustered a little bit. They let the goalie settle in with so little amount of shots consistently. So want to see that shots on goal metric up, but I know, almost a season and a half of Andre Tourigny, his system just doesn't cultivate a lot of shots on goal. I don't know if that's due to the talent and personnel of the roster, or that's just his coaching strategy, where his shooting percentage is high and the shots on goal are very selective and highly efficient. Next season, when this team has a much better roster, with much more skill, I'd be very interested to see what sort of metrics start to change. This start of the season, we saw their special teams starting to be really good. And then as the season went along, it's getting back to just poor special teams, which was the case last season under Andre Tourigny. So I wonder if it is an Andre Tourigny problem, if his special teams aren't good, his shots on goal isn't good, but his shooting percentage is high, and they could execute good scoring opportunities, just not a lot of them. I wonder, and we won't know until this roster is actually good, to do a full review of, hey, what is Andre Tourigny's system, and does it really cultivate scenarios where it has good special teams and they put a lot of pucks on net, high possession numbers, because his possession numbers too under Andre Tourigny are really low. So I think it is due to the personnel. Not saying it's the coach, but just saying it's an interesting topic. If next season, Cooley's added to the lineup, other high draft picks added to this lineup, that if they still have these problems, then that would be an interesting, analysis to look over. Face-off percentage as well, really bad under Tourigny. Could be a skill issue, or it could be a coaching issue. 31st in the league, 45.3%. Hayden is still the best face-off guy on the team, and now he's promoted to first-line center. He's doing really well. He's got 8 points in his last 7 games. He had 5 points in his first 33 games this season. So Hayden, it's all about consistency. You can't you can't go over 30 games of poor hockey play when you're touted and advertised as a highly skilled offensive guy. So hopefully playing with Keller and Schmaltz gets something going. Hopefully he starts to produce more. If he maintains this rate, he'll have a career high in totals and his first season playing over 60 games. So hopefully that happens for Hayden. We'll have to see him be consistent and stay on that top line for the rest of the season and really grow into that highly skilled offensive player that he was touted to be, drafted at 5th overall. Hits per game, sorry to track this. They are 7th in the league in hits per game at 26 hits per game. At the 30-game mark, they're at 25.5 hits per game. McBain leads the team in hits at 3.3 hits per game. So, McBain, I think he had the NHL record for most hits in a single period against Pittsburgh with 7 hits. Love this guy. He's a young guy, and he's leading the team in hits. He doesn't look too big. He's not like a menacing presence on the ice, but he loves to lay the body. I love seeing that from a young guy. He knows his role, and hopefully he grows into it more to be just a pest to play against and a really hard-working, hard-hitting Coyotes player. Other hit leaders, Nick Ritchie, he's got over 100 hits this season, and Liam O'Brien, who I always forget he's injured and we're missing him. He could be the missing piece. I would prefer O'Brien in the lineup over Kassian. I feel like Kassian might be the lowest impact player I've ever seen to wear a Coyotes jersey. And that's next to guys like Louis Eriksson. So I feel like he really doesn't do much. Lately he's been good. Like the past, I would say 2 games against Pittsburgh and last night against San Jose, I saw him hitting. So if Kassian could just hit a bit more and engage himself in the game that way, rather than just being a ghost and I totally forget he's on this roster, that would be a good thing. And then finally hits, 8th in the league in hits. They've had 3 fights in the past 10 games, going from 11 to 14. Josh Brown had a fight last night. I will say Josh Brown is the best fighter I've seen on the Coyotes in over a decade. Maybe that 2012 team could rival Josh Brown. They had some tough guys there, Rafi Torres, and some other heavy hitters there. But lately, the past decade, Josh Brown by a mile. Every time he fights, he's winning them and decisively winning those fights, laying haymakers, just pummeling the opponent. Love it when this guy fights. Better than seeing a Coyote fight where the Coyote just gets dominated and embarrassed. But Josh Brown is usually the guy getting the upper hand and embarrassing the other opponent. Love to see that. Liking Brown's game. He was advertised as being one of the worst defenders in the league. I'm not seeing that this year. I love what he brings. We needed a big body guy in front of the net to clear the crease. Fight. He's got about 2 or 3 goals on the season. Not bad for, a minimal, contract in the NHL. Going into the top 5 scorers, Michelli's still hanging around there. But Keller leads the team 37 points in 40 games. Just slightly lower than a point per game. He was a bit off in some games recently. Maybe the Philadelphia game, the Florida game, Florida, Philly, and Chicago, I felt, he was off his game there. But he looked great against Pittsburgh and San Jose. Hopefully they keep it up, him and Schmaltz. Even Schmaltz, too. I think he's got 19 points. And you got to remember, Schmaltz and Chychrun have played way less games than everyone else on this board. Keller's played 40. Ghost has played 40. Kraus 39. Chychrun 24 games. And Schmaltz 26 games. And they're already hitting, top 5 point producers on the team. So that's pretty crazy to see. And it shows how our secondary scoring is so bad that you could play half the season and be top 5 in scoring on this team. Gostisbehere, 28 points in 40 games. Our number 2 big trade piece for the trade deadline. He was quiet for 4 games, and then last night gets 2 assists. Same with Chychrun. They had a couple rough games, and then last night get on the board twice. Really loving them together, especially on the power play, even 5-on-5. They're just great to watch, the way they dance around the zone, find each other. Whenever Chychrun and Ghost are on a line with the top unit of Keller, Schmaltz, and whoever it is, right now it's Hayden, the way they just dominate the zone, maintain possession, find each other on the ice, know their tendencies. I love that. And I wish we had more lines that can do that. Michelli was the guy who can do those things. But like I said, without him, no one else could do those possession, playmaking plays. And everyone knows each other's chemistry. I just hope in future years it's not just a Keller line that does that. We have 2 or 3 lines that could dance around the zone, make good plays, generate offense, maintain possession, and really, just keep pounding and pounding against the opposition, make them tired, make them run around their own end of the ice. I just wish the Coyotes had more players that could do that sort of thing. But I'm happy that, at least we have Ghost, Chychrun in the top unit who can do that. Like I said, Michelli hasn't played in 8 games. He played the first 2 games of this 10-game stretch. He got injured in that LA game. Hasn't played since. He should be back late January or right after the All-Star game. That's about the 6 week mark. Like I said, Chikrin, 20 points in 24 games played. That's pretty crazy. I even said last video when I did a 30 game mark, I'm like, I expect Chikrin to hit the top 5 point leaders on his team, and he did just that. He's got to continue doing it. I love that he came back right from that sort of minor injury, the slap shot to the knee. Really shows he's engaged. He doesn't want to take a night off. He wants to win. He's passionate. So that's all I could ask for Chikrin. Hopefully his point totals maintain this pace, if not a little bit more. Don't want to see him be on a ghost streak. Don't want to see his value start to decrease. His value is really high. If anything, I think it's still at its peak. And so hopefully Bill Armstrong could do something here. And then we go to goalies. All right, talk about Vejmelka. He's had a really, really poor run of starts lately. He's 11, 14, and 4, 902 save percentage. So at least it's above 900. But, everyone used to say, and he was at the top of expected goals saved, but now he's dropped massively from that stat. He's letting in a lot of goals you didn't see him let in before. He doesn't look sound and confident, moving around too much. He's got to stay still, trust his positioning, and not get flustered. But we're seeing that he's pretty much off his game lately. And then Ingram, 2, 8, and 1. He's had a great 3 last starts. Like I said, Buffalo, Colorado, Chicago. I really hope he gets more starts. He was sick, so maybe that's why he didn't start last night. Maybe he wasn't 100%, but he was at least on the bench. And then, really bad numbers, 3.92 goals against average and .886 save percentage. Like I said, that Edmonton game really pouring down his numbers. So I just want to see him get more starts. He plays well. I don't hate him. And I know he's got potential to be just a solid backup. And I know the team sort of doesn't give him that goal scoring insurance and ability when Ingram is in net compared to Vejmelka. But he hasn't played enough games to see how this team really plays in front of Ingram. That's just like a thought I had. But, I don't know why the coaching staff is so apprehensive to playing Ingram. I would play him a lot more. Nothing to lose. You're already losing 6 in a row. So, why not showcase Ingram, see what he's got. And, if they played him a bit more and he won games or he had really good numbers in those games, that could have been another trade piece at the trade deadline, just like what we did with Wedgwood. We got him for a 3rd round pick. So Ingram could have been the same, but I don't think so this season. They haven't played him enough to warrant that a team would be like, oh, Ingram, I want him, for my insurance for my playoff run. So I wish they played him a bit more, and it's a bit too late. So hopefully he gets a start against Ottawa. They have a lot of back-to-backs this month. They got Ottawa Thursday, a back-to-back this weekend. They're playing pretty much every other day, and January is their most busiest month. So I would be expecting Ingram to play a lot more, and we're already 10 days into this month, and we've seen Ingram only one time. So hopefully we get to see Ingram a bit more, and like I said, this team could go lower with a trade deadline with injuries. As long as they're not dejected and they feel like, they just need to improve a little bit more. That's all I really care about. But, I would like to see a win Thursday against Ottawa. Just get them back on track. Don't get this negative mojo and negative cloud too big and too over their heads, because this is a young team, and, we've seen it so many times. When they get into a bad groove, it could last a really long time. So I'm hoping they win. I just don't hope they win a lot. So I would love to see this team bounce back at home with a win against the Senators and just get this bad mojo, this bad streak out of their system and get back to having fun and playing well and looking good on the ice. I just feel like they're being outworked now. The other teams are kind of just overpowering the Coyotes as the game goes along, whereas it used to be the Coyotes would start bad and then start playing well and then just continue that for the whole game and get a point or bring it to overtime or whatever. So we're halfway through the season, And hopefully the second half is, it's going to be worse than the first half for sure. There's no way they maintain that point pace for the next 40 games with, obviously, like I said so many times, a trade deadline. But just hoping they continue to work hard, continue to have fun. The competitive losses are really good. Didn't like that blowout loss against Philadelphia. So keep those rare. Games like Chicago, those are fine games. It was a 1-0 game for the whole game before the empty netter. Just stay in games. Try to gain chemistry. I want to see Gunther gain chemistry with someone out there. Mix and match the power play units to feed Gunther and make him more confident and give him some success. Because he's a young guy. He just came off a huge high at the World Juniors, so it's pretty sad to see that he comes from that high of winning gold and scoring the golden goal to this really dumpster fire of a 6-game regulation losing streak. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, spread the word. And as always, thank you for your support.